You know, I usually say, unfortunately for you, as a sort of disclaimer, a warning even. That's for consideration of you, the viewer, for what you're about to see. But no amount of warning would prepare you for the amount of grotesque degeneracy that is...
Old furry curved sword. Curved sword bearing the soul of the old wolf that stays with the fursuiters of Farron. This sword, like an aroused dog, boosts attack and restores HP with each meaty slap. Skill: belch pounds. Jump onto foes with a large slurping motion, then leap out of restraining order distance and follow through with a strong countersu.
God is dead. God remains dead. And we have killed him.
The Old Wolf Curved Sword. It's weird that FromSoft called this weapon a curved sword when it's actually a curved greatsword, but this wouldn't be the first time they gave a weapon a misleading name. Kill me! Unfortunately for you, it is Jim. And let's get the real question out of the way. Is this a meta weapon? No! No, it's not. You can go now. We're done here. You can leave. Exit out. I'm leaving. I'm going. Bye! Now, if you're still here, let's get the more egregious qualities of this weapon out of the way. Since the initial release of Dark Souls 3, which, need I remind you, has been 3 years ago, the Old Wolf has always been on the back burner of the curved greatsword class, and with good enough reason. It shares the same length as the Exile curved greatsword, the Exile being the shortest in the class. Not a good thing to have, huh? Not to mention that the Old Wolf cannot be infused nor buffed like the rest of its peers. Last but not least, the Old Wolf is in an uncanny valley when it comes to weight. Topping off at 13 units, it's in between the Karthus curved greatsword's 10.5 and the Exile's 17. When compared to other Ultras from different classes, it's not exactly the heaviest, sure, but it's also definitely not the lightest. With all the weapons I've reviewed so far, most of them were quite lenient in stat requirements. In fact, most of them gave the user a lot of leeway with how they would go about their build. This is not the case with the Old Wolf. Not only does it require both strength and dexterity for damage, you would be careless not to invest in vitality as well. The R1s of curved greatswords are actually rather slow, and they tend to leave this weapon vulnerable to faster weapons such as smaller curved swords, hammers, and greatswords. I mean, with the right amount of poise, you can comfortably trade with these weapons, but this privilege doesn't come cheap. And to make one last note, you need to invest in endurance, especially if you use all the moves that you have at your disposal, such as the jumping attacks and the weapon art. If you then calculate the radius of the boob you will never touch, that's a total of 4 stats to manage. While there's virtually no problem with fitting this weapon into a meta-level build, the lower in level you find yourself, the less potential this weapon has because it requires so much from you. But let's just say, for the sake of argument, that you do have all that you need to make this weapon shine. What happens then? Well... Despite this being the 5th installment of this little old series of mine, I still need to do my due diligence. Why would this weapon be considered underrated? Well, first things first, yes, the R1 can combo into the weapon art. It does a sizable amount of damage. It can even get around Tears of Denial since the combo hits the opponent 3 times, and the jumping animation at the end of the weapon art also puts you at a safe distance away from your enemies in case you whiff. While an invaluable tool in your arsenal and a unique aspect of this weapon, it's not the only trick up its sleeve. A funny coincidence to note is that while FromSoft actively nerfed and tweaked the Exile curved greatsword multiple times, they ended up buffing the Old Wolf twice. Once for its weapon art, and a second for the charge rate of its innate buff that grants you more damage, alongside buffing the Pontiff Right Eye and Karthus Beacon. More on them in a bit. One of the biggest pros to using the Old Wolf is its moveset, and I don't want to leave a single detail out. You are given a variety of options to combat nearly any situation. This weapon has many more true combos than most of the weapons in the game, let alone curved greatswords, and it gives you fair opportunity for roll-catching opponents into even more damaging pseudo-combos with the right know-how. So let's start off with what the true combos are. Of course, there's the tried and true R1, R1. From there, you get the R1 into weapon art. The R1 also combos into a jumping attack. If you charge an R2, it combos into both an R1 or a weapon art, both two-handed and one-handed. The same thing, if you fully charge an R2, you can pull off a jumping attack as well. Now obviously the Wolf Leap weapon art is doing a lot of the carrying here. As weapon arts go, it's undisputable that the Wolf Leap is one of the most unique. This move is one of your safest options in a fight. It can't be parried, first of all, perfect for punishing a parry attempt. It also adds a tremendous amount of poise health throughout its animation. Notice how I'm still able to jump back despite being hit with a two-handed great club of all things. Lastly, the weapon art gives you the distinct advantage of moving back, away from any potential enemies in front of you, while also slashing around your body, hitting those same enemies that you're retreating from. If those same enemies try to chase you down, you can actually meet them with an attack of your own, provided you have enough stamina for it. But sometimes, only using the first half of the weapon art might be a setup as well. Afterwards, you can delay an R1 to catch them after they roll. You can throw out a jumping attack to close the distance, or use whatever best suits the moment for you. And now would be a good time to note that the curved greatsword jumping attack itself can't be parried, but also comes with a shockwave that covers a potential whiff. Do mind yourself though, because this attack, along with the weapon art, both eat up a lot of stamina. Don't skip out on your running attack either. This attack comes out with a surprising amount of poise and can tank through smaller weapons such as straight swords and the occasional greatsword provided you have enough armor. If you utilize run buffering, you can get some cheeky attacks in by both closing the distance under protection of poise. Run buffering is when you hold block, sprint for a short duration, and stop, all while holding your block. When you do this, it effectively buffers your sprinting attack so that when you do press R1, despite standing still, you do a sprinting R1. Like any good tool in your arsenal, use this move sparingly as a means to surprise your opponent. You can mix up what they could perceive as a sprinting attack with another attack altogether, like an L2 into a weapon art, or an R2, or by simply letting go of the block and doing a normal R1. Just a small note, you can't indefinitely buffer a running attack. Run buffering is definitely telegraphed, that's why you have to be crafty with how you use it. Now, it may sound like this weapon gives its users a lot of freedom with its moveset, and it really does, but let's get down to brass tacks and discuss how much damage can this weapon actually do. Is the damage that the Old Wolf can do comparable to other, more powerful greatswords? Well, if that powerful curved greatsword is the Exile, then no. The Exile is... I don't know how to describe it with brevity. It's a beast. not just for its weapon class, but in the entire game. The damage you can pull off with the Exile matches Ultras, sometimes surpassing them, like the Fume, for instance. But hey, the old wolf ain't too bad. In fact, you don't have to do Exile damage in order to decimate your opponents. I would dare say that the damage that the old wolf can do rivals that of the Herald Curved Greatsword, and I'm going to show you why. But first, I want you to make note of the Pontiff eye rings. Just keep them in the back of your mind as I show you these numbers. We will have the old wolf go toe-to-toe with the Dark Herald Curved Sword. Here we have our good compatriot wearing the Lapp's armor set. It boasts about a 32.5% slash absorption on top of his already high flat defense. To compare, I'm wearing a combination of the Faram and Gundyr set. This is for my poise, and mainly helps against physical damage. For dark damage, on the other hand, while it has a respectable 20.686% dark absorption, it's not that great. My flat dark defense is also 128, dictated by the Faith stat. Of course, if I were to truly be efficient, I would wear armor that increased my dark absorption, but fashion over function, y'all. Now let's see a damage comparison of some of the true combos. First, the R1, R1 weapon art, R1 jumping attack, charged R2 R1, charged R2 weapon art, and lastly, charged R2 jumping attack. Oh yeah, that's right. The Herald doesn't combo into the charged R2 jumping attack. Aside from that little detail, the Herald is winning pretty handily, huh? Well, what happens if we put on the right eye ring? Because see, the old wolf actually shares similar charge buffs to that of both Pontiff eye rings. Hit an opponent a certain number of times and you get a damage increase of your weapons. Hit an opponent even more and you get health back from each consecutive attack. Now if you pair the old wolf with a respective ring, their effects almost double. Now observe. R1 weapon art, charged R2 weapon art, and this is with the buffs fully active at the last charge that they can possibly have. Your combos are now doing anywhere from 50 more damage to 200 more damage depending on whether you use an R1 or an R2 to start the combo. This difference is rather significant and ought to motivate your playstyle in a highly specific way. When using the Old Wolf, you want to be aggressive. There's no getting around it. You can use the Old Wolf itself to keep on the pressure, but you can very well use an offhand weapon like a hand axe, a dagger, or a straight sword. The buff doesn't care if you hit them with just the Old Wolf, you just have to hit somebody with something. While having the Old Wolf in the main hand might seem like a no-brainer, you do have access to an extremely powerful running attack if you do, consider using the Old Wolf in the offhand. By using a curved greatsword in the offhand, its range actually becomes slightly longer. 1 SP longer for you Reddit nerds. Also, your poise health is the same one-handed as it is two-handed. So, for instance, if you can reliably trade with a halberd two-handed, you can definitely do it one-handed. This gives you an open hand to have a faster weapon, to keep the hits going, to keep the aggression, and also to mix up your attacks as well. If you're faced with a turtle, you could very well put on the Pontiff left eye. This way your swings will have some semblance of purpose when you get healed for each consecutive hit. It's not the best plan, but it is a plan. A side note, the Old Wolf's innate damage and healing buffs still work if you don't meet the requirements for this weapon. If you use the Old Wolf as a backpack, meaning you use it in the offhand and two-hand another weapon in the main hand, you will still gain the benefits of its healing and damage boost charges. In fact, it's a popular decision to put a dual-wielded weapon in your main hand, such as the Gottards, the Cell Swords, the Twin Axes, Cestus. All of these choices are incredibly powerful, and you should watch out for somebody who is using a setup like this, because they're going to hurt a lot. Consider all of this with what the Old Wolf has going for it, and, well, it's not the best weapon, but it's dependable, it's fun, unique, it's everything you would want in a game just filled with the same. Consider giving it a try if you haven't already. But alas, that's about it for me. I'm stating the obvious here, but I've been away for a while. I'm ashamed to say that I lost quite a bit of drive to do much of anything over these past few months. I've been on a hiatus that's long overstayed its welcome. While I've been gone though, I have played Sekiro, I have considered revisiting other Souls games, and I do have thoughts about the future of Souls with Elden Ring being announced, but that's for another time entirely. I'll make no promises, but I do want all of y'all to know that making videos is still a passion of mine. Actions speak louder than words, and we prove who we are every day, and I'm gonna try to do just that in the coming weeks. I hope y'all have a great day today, and an even better night tonight. Thank you so much for watching, and please take care of yourselves. Tell somebody you love them, because they probably need that really bad right now. Bye, y'all.